there we go. Or here we are. This was all a bit too technical for my poor brain to be able to cope with this evening. It's I'll put it down to the Vino Collapso. But yeah, there we are. It's
Brothers Toffee Apple.
Well, there we go.
Sponsored by, they don't know it yet, but sponsored by Brothers Toffee Apple.
I'm sure they'll appreciate it. I'm sure that's what they want.
Blue wine from blue grapes.
I'm getting and YouTube. I wish it would leave me alone because it keeps trying to tell me too many exciting new things. It's like you're in the middle of a live stream and it goes, "Hey, by the way, you can capture moments now and you can do all this weird stuff now." And I'm like, "No, I'm still trying to cope with the buttons I'm supposed to press. Thank you very much indeed. Leave me alone, YouTube."
Because record and broadcast is one too many buttons.
Yeah, I think when we got into the habit of recording them, and you know when it goes wrong, you just delete it and start again, and then you go back to doing something live, and it's like, no, you have to do all these other things like volume control and stuff, and it just doesn't like it.
To all the folks at home, if you spot any mistakes, please put them in the comments below.
I think we might have annoyed a few people because at the time we were supposed to start, I was convinced everything was working. Everything was telling me it was working, and then it was that famous red button wasn't red.
Are we meant to be that small? Are we meant to be that small?
Yes, we are meant to be that small because we're going to be doing a countdown, and it gets the pride of place. It's not about us.
Woo!
We're not the focus here.
It's a good thing.
Yeah. I can make you bigger. Right. Anyway.
I'm just saying because if you look at it, I'm right at the bottom. You know, some people would ignore me. Well, if it was me, I would ignore me.
Nobody could possibly ignore you, Simon.
I know.
But I mean, if it makes you feel better, what I can do, like if it somehow sort of makes your world a brighter place, give me a second. There we go. In a few seconds, you'll not be at the bottom anymore, and then Justin can give off. Right. So the top 10 games. Now, obviously, we need to make clear here. These aren't necessarily in like descending order and like that. There are a plethora of games that we had to choose and talk about, but out of all of them, this is what we kind of narrowed down to be in the 10 that if we were allowed to get together and game on Halloween Eve and Halloween night, these would probably be the ones sitting on the table that we would debate ourselves around. Some nice easy ones, some difficult ones, some challenging ones. Yeah, the confused gamers getting lost in debate for 10 minutes, that's kind of par for the course. Welcome to the channel if you're new, but we know that the black sheep is not. Alright, Chris. So, without any further ado, let's get to number 10, shall we? We're starting at 10 and working our way up to 1. So, yeah, it makes complete sense. So if I press this button, there we go, number 10. And number 10 lands with us. And number 10 is, of course, the doom that came to Atlantic City. Cryptozoic Games.
Cryptozoic Games, yeah.
I think that was yours, Justin.
Yeah, I brought this up to Weegamers, I don't know, 9 months ago or something. Right back at the start of lockdown, whenever that was. Was that 3 years ago now? It seems like it. But yeah, I got this game as part of a trade of one of the board game trading groups I'm a member of. And it was one of those things where they said, just pick another game, you need another game. And I was like, well, what's this one here? This looks kind of fun. And I'm not joking. I picked it as part of the trade based off the cover art alone. Because I thought, this looks kind of fun. This looks kind of Cthulhu and fun. I knew nothing about it. I just thought, you know, I'm owed something else. Fill that in the box and send it over. And we opened it up one night, took it out of the box, and immediately our faces all dropped because we straight away thought this is just Monopoly repainted with Cthulhu put in. And all eyes turned to me and went, Justy, what have you brought to us here? You have brought the unmentionable game, the game that shall not be named has been put in front of us. And we're like, no, lads, let's just go with this one. Let's have a look. So yeah, whereas it resembles Monopoly on its layout, the Cthulhu aspect of it turns it on its head a wee bit, because instead of building towns and building sort of hotels and houses, you're actually destroying existing houses and hotels and so on. So it's kind of backwards. It is literally the doom from the unmentionable doom from the darkest regions of space has come to Earth, and you have to destroy as much of Atlantic City as you can before the other players. So yeah, it's Monopoly but backwards.
To be fair, this is pretty much the family entry on our top 10 list. You could play this with your mum and with your kids, and they'll kind of think they're playing a weird version of Monopoly. Like, is this one of these collector's editions? But after this, from number 9's on the fence, but after this, it's like, yeah, send the kids to bed. They're not allowed to play.
Get the fun ones out of the way first.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I think in this game you should award a second go or bonus points if you can pronounce some of the names correctly.
Aye, of the elder gods.
Yeah.
Narlahotep and whatever, you know.
that was a challenge. And given that our group is challenged speaking the Queen's English at times, yeah, well, you know, let's not linger too long there. Okay, so number 10's a nice, easy, happy entry then. Number 9. Now this is the bit where you kind of have to judge how long does this film last? I can't remember. There we go. Number 9 is of course the classic Zombies by Twilight Creations. I think we all know Zombies. It's not a rocket science game by any stretch of the imagination.
Zombies spawn, zombies try to eat you, run away from zombies, escape. In a nutshell, that is Zombies.
How many expansions is there now to that game?
43 million.
There's 1, 2, 3 mini lots. I chose to include expansion number 4, and I think it's expansion number 13. I'm pretty sure they got up to like expansion 15 or 16, and you can buy the bag that is just zombies because there's never enough.
Simon and I did actually stay when we were in Essen the complete Zombies collection in a big box edition, and my word, you needed a suitcase for it because it had everything. Not just zombies, it also had the aliens expansions and humans expansions and all that.
Yeah.
So
it's
just more of the same with different minis.
Yeah. UK Games Expo, there was a stall that was just basically doing zombies.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
and if you wanted to get one of the rare expansions, probably be able to get it from that person.
I will backtrack and digress slightly. There is a kids version of Zombies called Trampoline Zombies. Bob, if you're listening, go away and hide in the corner.
Did he buy it?
No, I bought it, and he was really let down by it. But,
oh dear.
Yeah, that's another family-friendly, fun one. But swiftly moving on from that.
Well, no. To be fair about Zombies, because I've ran this with the school club as well. There's literally now in the base game, there's literally 2 cards that we felt kind of needed to be removed to allow the kids to play with it. And if you're a caring, compassionate parent, go through the card deck. I'm pretty sure you'll be able to figure out the 2 cards that need to be removed. And then after that, if your kids like zombies and they know that they eat brains, well, you're on a winner. But I would still say, unless your mum's a real Walking Dead fan, this is on the borderline of older family fun.
Justin, were you there in the game? I think we had the maximum amount of players, and we couldn't actually continue playing the game. We gave up because the amount of underhandedness that was going made it unplayable for everyone.
The best part of gaming.
Yeah. So that was number 9. Let's see if we can make the video go to number 8, and we can make it go to number 8. Now this is comfortable territory for Duffy, because obviously you threw into the mix Betrayal at House on the Hill from Avalon Hill Games.
No, I only put it on because of the amount of times that it's been played in the bunker. And as a result of it, I got it myself. Mine's has never been opened because there's a certain individual that comes to the bunker, and that's the person for Betrayal on the Hill, and including the other themes, the Baldur's Gate wasn't it one? And I think there's another one as well.
There's the Scooby-Doo one. I threw them in as well
Oh.
because this kind of breaks the rule that I just said, where after number 9 it's kind of no longer family fun. The Scooby-Doo edition of this does make it family fun because it's a down-to-earth, friendly, Unmask the Monster version, to be fair.
I didn't even know there was one.
Yeah, it's literally new. Baldur's Gate kind of turns the rules in his head as well, obviously, because it's more like a dungeon bash one. But yeah, the classic Betrayal on the Hill, you're right. Chris is a big fan of it, and unless he's there, you need to understand Betrayal to do it right. Baldur's Gate and the Scooby-Doo one, you can kind of get a bit wrong and it won't break the game.
Now, the surprising thing is you don't have the expansion for it, but it was a lot of years that people had to wait for an expansion to come out.
Yes.
A lot of years.
Yes, and they weren't necessarily overly happy with it universally once they got it either.
Oh.
The Witch's Walk or whatever. But again, if you're just looking at a game to sit down and have a bit of crack with, any of the 3 of those for your Halloween night is going to be entertaining amusement. Gotta say, I quite like the Baldur's Gate version, the D&D one.
Yeah, the theme in it is really good. Like,
so ding, ding, ding. Moving on, number 7. And here we are. We all sit back and allow Simon to wax lyrical because you have the most experience in this one, though have to agree, it looks phenomenal. Nemesis by Awakened Realms.
Right. Well, the scary thing is they have brought out Lockdown, which is another standalone to Nemesis. It's only out of Kickstarter a couple of months. I still think they're still doing late pledges for it. And I have to put my hand up, and I've literally went all in. So I've got the original Nemesis coming, and the expansion. There's probably going to be maybe 6 months to a year between the 2 of them. Now, obviously, the one that we've put up there is the original Nemesis, and it's as atmospheric as you can get. If you're into Alien, anything like that, Starship. There's another film that will come to me in a second. Pandemonium. I think I've got it.
Yep.
Yes. So the idea is you got a spaceship. You got people that wake up. They're either from cryo sleep or whatever it is. Look around them. There's everything going wrong. Depending on the situation, you could have the automatic self-destruct going. There's a couple of things, and you suddenly hear a noise, and it wasn't a human noise. And that's literally where the game continues. Every player has a particular type of character, be it from the pilot to the captain to the scientist. You get the general idea. Each of them has their own deck of cards. Say about 70% are generic cards, but each character has about 30% that's specifically for them. There's 2 different types of modes. There's a co-op and there's I'm out for myself. In the out for themselves, I think we've only literally won once because it's that type of game where you need the other players to try and move on, but at the same time you can't win unless you take out one of the players. So there's too much of a thing going on there. But yeah,
it's very much a you win together or you die together kind of game.
Pretty much, yeah.
Visually, for anyone that's into their miniatures and whatnot, you can't fault it because there's such an array of figures in it as well, and even just the base game is chock-a-block with tiles and stuff like that as well. It's a nice package.
Yeah. Now again, it's one of these ones where very quickly that there's a couple of games that are close to it. The one that I think Justin's looking forward to is the Alien Marine one that's Colonial Marine one that's coming out. Again, set in the same type of disaster situation.
Yep, same type of thing, but for another day. Number 6, ladies and gentlemen. At number 6, we have, in fact, The Thing, Infection at Outpost 31. This one causes me a bit of a conundrum, and I know we've chatted about this because we've got Infection at Outpost 31, we've got Who Goes There, and now we've got the thing just finishing on Kickstarter from Pendragon, all of which essentially offering us the same game.
So,
the same plot elements and very similar gameplay. Whereas one is based on book, the other is based on film. I'm not going to go into the full details because I could literally talk for hours about these games.
We maybe will do that tonight.
Maybe some other night we will do a playthrough. Actually, an online one would be good.
Let's do that.
Yeah.
But in a nutshell, if you're going with a Halloween theme or a horror theme, it's a game that plays on paranoia. It's a game that plays not necessarily on the creatures you see, but the creatures that are hidden within each other and the growing sort of suspense. It's a great game. It really is. If you're a fan of the film, you'll love it. If you've never seen the film, honestly, you'll be hooked within a couple of turns. You'll be trying to suss everybody out in the room. It's a great game. Every time I've brought it to the club, it's never been short of players. I've never played it with less than a full complement of people.
Yeah, I think your practice game was literally the only one where you literally went, no, only one, a few people here. My sales pitch on this one would be, if you are a board gamer who enjoys the likes of the classic Battlestar Galactica, which was kind of one of the first ones that really was big for Who's the Traitor, this takes that to a whole new dimension. Don't know why I laughed. So, number 5, boys and girls, we're halfway there. That's a song, but even I'm not taking time to sing tonight. Similar vein to the past couple of games in a way. This is more sort of in line with Simon's Nemesis. It is, of course, Resident Evil 2, the board game by Steamforged Games. And I hold the hands up. This was on Kickstarter and I completely ignored it. I just looked at it and went, it's too much stuff. I can't be bothered. And then the opportunity came to literally have all of it in hand. I went, well, I can be bothered now. And I'm glad I did. It is so fairly true to the computer game, but in a dungeon crawl zombie style, chock full of miniatures. My only flaw with it is you do need a couple of the expansions to actually get the full value of it. The base game's like an appetizer, and if you only stop with it, I think you'll walk away kind of going, was hoping for a bit more.
It wouldn't be the first time we played a game where we've had to add an expansion for it to be properly filled out. Exactly.
And I think if you go into it knowing that in due course you will need to expand this to get the full flavour of it, I honestly don't think you're going to go away disappointed. The only reason this hasn't been to the table more often for me is we've got so many good games and I want to have everything painted, so I'm going to have to do a justy sometime and take a lot of caffeine and just sit and go, I'm painting Resident Evil for the next 6 months, leave me alone.
You don't look at my painting table right now.
Your painting table is always a thing of wonder, Justin.
You see, this is the thing. My pile of unpainted shame at the start of lockdown was up here. Now it's a way, way, way down. I'm running out of things to paint.
Don't worry.
DLC and board games. Sorry, the Black Sheep's just said there the DLC and board games, and that's what a lot of games have become. One game that doesn't rely on DLC is number 4, and this is the classic throwback, the latest kid on the block, and it is Themborn, Escape the Dark Castle, and of course, Escape the Dark Sector. Over to Justin.
Absolutely love these. I mean, they are a reinvention, if you will, of the classic sort of fighting fantasy game books. And Escape the Dark Castle was the first entry in the series, which sort of plays the whole medieval thing, where you wake up in a dungeon and escape, and you have to make your way through the castle, battling creatures as you go along, exploring rooms until you get to the boss. And it's an interesting mechanic where it's card-based, but you play so many chapter cards, and there's so many interchangeable bosses and monsters and all along the way in different rooms. So every time you play the base game, it's a totally different adventure. In saying that, they released 3 expansions for Escape the Dark Castle, and they just added to it. I know we're saying some games need expansions, but honestly, the base game alone is fantastic on its own, and in this case, the expansions just add more. Now, Escape the Dark Sector is the same premise, but it's futuristic. It's set in far space, so it plays on the whole sort of alien thing again, and sort of like the whole paranoia in space and getting lost in the dark and everything. And Again, at the minute, it's just a core set, but there are 3 planned expansions which come to Kickstarter, I believe, in a few weeks. So I will definitely have them on my list. But again, every time it's been played, it's had a full complement of players at the bunker, and we've all thoroughly enjoyed it. It takes little to no time to understand the rules. It's so straightforward and so simple, and you can play through a game in half an hour.
Yeah.
Easily, half an hour.
I mean, I think Si and I chatted about this before, that one of the things I particularly liked about it was it also evoked all the memories of the old Decide Your Own Fate adventure books.
Yeah.
But this time you could play it with friends, and you didn't need to keep your thumb in 4 different places to save your spot.
It's a nice, to me, it's a nice retro game.
Even the artwork in it. Yeah, it's all that retro feel. Everything is just, it just hits all the right notes that you want for like that type of game.
Yeah. Safe to say, if you're of a certain age, this is a trip down nostalgia lane with a new twist, and the 3 of us are of a certain age. Okay, so that was number 4, which again is kind of really... Actually, you know what? Number 4 kind of is a fit-all. Everybody could really get round and play this. There's not a huge lot of rules to get your head round. Mum, dad, kids... You
could play this with the kids. You could play it is fairly family-friendly. Maybe some of the artwork would be a bit scarier for the younger kids, but there's nothing in the rules that are going to be overly complicated.
No.
It's an easy, straightforward, out of the box and play it. You learn it within a couple of minutes, and away you go. It's great.
There's no shenanigans.
No, not really. No.
No. Escape the dark sector and escape the dark Cthulhu is shenanigan free. Number 3. 3. That's the magic number, and that's probably why at number 3 is Call of Cthulhu.
Uh-oh.
It was like a built-in segue.
And over to you.
Whoa, what happened there? Sorry, yeah, Call of Cthulhu. Somehow, I don't know how, but I've just had a notification that we're going to run out of time in 10 minutes. That's lovely of them, because that's a different time than my timer. Call of Cthulhu, obviously this is role-playing territory. Now, I have to sort of split the pitch here with Duffy, because I don't think it's just about Call of Cthulhu. I think nowadays it's the Cthulhu mythos, which has permeated so many other games. I mean, Simon is a big fan of the Mansions of Madness, which is in itself a dungeon crawl based in Lovecraft. You've got the Call of Cthulhu itself, which is obviously the role-playing game based on the Lovecraft sort of mythos. But then you've got Cthulhu Pandemic, and literally you can say Cthulhu and add almost any other game or genre after it. Now, there will be something for everybody in Cthulhu Land.
Cthulhu Monopoly.
Cthulhu Monopoly, which we seen at the start. And I think what certainly Duffy and I have tended to find with the vast majority of the mythos-themed games, there's none of them are bad.
No. I think what we're talking about is the Fantasy Flight ones. I don't think there's anything that the Fantasy Flight has released that you would say, well, they did that badly. There's so many. They've got the living card game version that it's just ridiculous money to try and get that. But for me, some of the board games that you rightly says is I'm in love with them.
Fantasy Flight, I do agree, do a very well polished game. My only gripe with Fantasy Flight is that you need a massive box to hold all the tokens that they have for their games. They just have this obsession with giving you 1 million tokens for a game.
Well, that's the interesting one. In Mansions of Madness, the first version would exactly be like that. The second version that did it with an app, and I just think it adds that wee bit of extra, not as many tokens, and a person doesn't need to be whatever the name was of the dungeon master or the person that was controlling the board. So it meant everyone could be a player. So for me, it's a nice wee change, and it's something that Fantasy Flight have looked at with regards to some of their different games.
Not
trying to get down.
Not as much policing in it.
Yeah.
But anyway, for that one, obviously that's a game that needs somebody to sit down, spend a lot of time, be the GM, and then multiple players. Of course, and even under COVID scenarios, you can still play that one online as well through the likes of Zoom or whatever, where the GM can sit in their house and you can all sit in yours. Number 2 then, boom, boom, boom. At number 2, Two Fangs, Fangs for watching, and it's Vampire the Masquerade. Now, much as with Call of Cthulhu, Vampire the Masquerade, or the World of Darkness by White Wolf, has become something much bigger than the sum of all its parts. And it would be unfair to lump number 2 spot purely to the wonderful Vampire the Masquerade game without at least acknowledging the rest of the World of Darkness, which we know Justin down there is a massive fanboy of.
Okay, well, aside from, let me very quickly just run through. You've got Vampire the Masquerade, Vampire the Dark Ages, Vampire Kindred of the East, Werewolf the Apocalypse, Mage the Ascension, Changeling the Dreaming, and many others. So you can pretty much take any type of creature from fantasy, classic sort of like, scary films and so on, and there will be a version of it in a White Wolf game somewhere. But yes, Vampire sort of drives the world, closely followed second place by Werewolf. And it's an interesting take on role-playing games, where most games, for example, like D&D, you play the hero. In Vampire and Werewolf and so on, you kind of play not the villain, but an anti-hero, if you will. You are one of the creatures of the night. You are a werewolf, you are a vampire, you are whatever. And you're just trying to sort of like use your newfound abilities to like shape the world from your sort of hidden sort of status, because you can't reveal to the world you're a vampire or a werewolf or so on, and you're trying to like sort of arrange everything around you, politically pull strings and do sort of shady dealings and so on in a very sort of controlled RPG environment. It's great fun, and it's another one that you can do via Zoom during lockdown. I will briefly say, though, that my bias is towards third edition, as is probably the bias of my two colleagues here tonight, because fourth and fifth don't exist in the minds of sane people.
We speak not of these things.
They don't exist. It peaked at third edition, and there it stopped.
Well, I do have to make one proviso. There was like a special anniversary edition done under the D20 system that was released at the Vampire Masquerade at New Orleans, and I would probably sell family members to get hold of a copy of that, because that is gorgeous.
Another good thing about it, I can say, is unlike D&D, you do not need every shape and type of dice. It's just D10s, and the rules are fairly simplistic and straightforward, and it's based around the storytelling system. So if something seems right for your character to do and the storyteller allows it, go with it. You don't need to roll for everything. It's about telling sort of like a fast-paced sort of story with interesting intrigue and elements of cinematic sort of like role play in it. And it doesn't heavily rely on a lot of charts and tables. There is an element to it, but if it makes sense for the story, it plays through. That's the best thing about it.
Yeah, it is without doubt. It's got a very soft spot in my heart, and it's very much a beast of its time. There is a heavily, obviously it's an 80s kind of thing, and if you're not a child of the 80s, some of it's going to be lost on you, and you're going to have to do a bit of research and watch like TV shows to find out what the 80s was really about.
What's a mobile phone?
What's that brick with an aerial that you're carrying around, Father? But it is a beautiful, beautiful game. Some fantastic art, and yeah, you can immerse yourself. You can spend as much time just trying to create your character as actually worrying about playing the game.
That's the other good thing. Character creation is fairly streamlined and straightforward compared to the likes of D&D. I'm sorry to use D&D as an example all the time, but it is the benchmark for RPGs, let's be honest.
Well,
and it's so much easier, quicker to get into and to play than pretty much any other RPG on the market.
I apologise for my colleague apologising for using D&D as a reference. How dare you apologise for D&D? Nobody apologises for D&D. If either of us were closer to you, we'd both slap you. And from where we're sitting on Zoom, we could both spit down in your head, but you would get excited. Duck. So, we have reached the point already of position number 1. I should have brought a drum. Now, obviously, it is Halloween we're talking about here. We're not necessarily saying every day of the week these are the games that you should consider playing. But for that festive period, the happiest time of the year where you get to wear black and not get looked at, it came to our conclusion that there was one king for the castle. And we've only got apparently 1 minute to deliver it, according to this now. And that has to be Cult Divinity Lost by Helmgast, the rebirth of the classic Cult role-playing game.
But you've done a review of this, haven't you? The most recent.
Yes, you can go watch our video, or just accept the fact that this is scarily dark. Scarily dark, at new levels of dark and twisted. This is not a family-friendly game. It's not a family-friendly book. It's possibly not even for all your friends, and don't leave it on the coffee table. But if you do want to play something that's going to push the boundaries, this could well be what you want to be looking at. It is a beautifully horrific tome, and the expansions for it equally so, in my humble opinion. So yes, the number 1 spot for Halloween fun and hijinks goes to the twisted world of Cult Divinity Lost, in our humble opinion.
And that literally wraps us up for the
that's
top 10.
us. You can all go home now. We're done. You can by all means continue to add comments and stuff. But yeah, we're pretty much wrapped. There's the credits rolling, and we're going to run with that, because it's just a good place to say thank you. Don't forget to subscribe. Tune in for another video another time, and we'll see you all on the other side, kids. Thanks for watching.
See you later.
Go away now.
Bye, Chris.